Hello, and welcome to the WorldCoin Network video education series. I'm Christopher Deem, and with me today is Justin Birmingham from World Wealth Enabled. Justin, I wanted to take a little bit of time here and talk to our viewers about one of the most frequently asked questions that we get, and that is, should I save in physical gold and silver? Right. Now, I've seen a couple of your videos on the internet, and I like the way that you explain the answer to this question, so I was hoping that you would take a few minutes and tell our viewers your take on this question.
Absolutely, and thank you for the endorsement, by the way.
Absolutely.
It's always nice to know that I explain things clearly. Basically, whenever I get asked the question, should I save in the form of physical gold and silver, I don't really think it's a fair question, so I don't answer it. Basically, what I do is I ask the reverse question, and that is, why would you save in a devaluing currency?
Okay, what do you mean by a devaluing currency?
Okay. Well, basically, there's a difference between money and a currency. And if you don't understand the difference of money versus a currency, you're kind of behind the eight ball already. You're in a little bit of trouble here just from get-go, okay? What is money? What should it be doing for you? Why is currency not money? Why is it that it acts exactly the opposite of money? Basically, money is supposed to be a storage system. It's a place where you store the vehicle. It's a storage vehicle to maintain your wealth, to keep your wealth stable. And it's supposed to protect the purchasing power of your wealth, basically.
Okay, and how does it do that?
In order to do that, it has to have a set, constant value.
Okay, so by constant value, you're obviously talking about something that doesn't fluctuate very much. And I've seen this in some research that I've done, where it showed that in 1792, the price of gold was $20.67 an ounce. And then all the way up until 1932, so 140 years, with some fluctuation in the middle, but more or less, the price of gold hovered right around at exactly $20.67 for 140 years. And I thought that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that is. That's interesting. And it really personifies the point that I'm making, which is that true money retains a specific value. It's a set value. Whereas currencies are basically a voucher system. And they're nothing but a representation of whatever it is that they back. There has to be something of value backing a currency.
Okay.
The problem with that is that they can always print more. Whenever they want, they can print more of them. But that doesn't create any more wealth. It just devalues the voucher that's in your pocket.
Because they're not making any more silver, per se.
Well, if silver is the backing of that currency, then yes, they can't, or gold, they can't make more gold or silver. There's only so much of it in the world, but you can print as many dollar bills as you'd like to represent that.
Okay.
But by printing more, you simply devalue the actual value of the currency in your pocket.
Okay.
Now, so what we're really talking about here is purchasing power. That's the real issue in the end. And so we need to start to learn to think about comparing things to things, or to something of real value like money, like gold and silver. We have been trained to, and we have the tendency to, compare things to currency, because everything we buy or see every day is priced in terms of dollars. The problem with that is that it's a bad point of reference. And the reason is because the purchasing power of currencies is devaluing. We call it inflation. But what you really see is them printing more dollar bills to represent the same wealth in the world.
Okay, so would I be correct in saying that whereas most people say things are getting more and more expensive, what you're actually saying is that's not the right way to look at it. The proper way to look at it is that your money is being more and more devalued.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I like to explain that with a story about my grandfather. And my grandfather loved to tell me when I was young that in the 1950s, when he was a young man, he could pull up to the gas station, and with $2 silver, he could buy a tank of gas for his truck. And I was always intrigued by that when I was younger, but I started to think about it as an adult, and really, $2 silver in the 1950s, even if it was a paper currency in his pocket, represented 2 ounces of silver. By way of comparison today, 2 ounces of silver would cost you roughly $75 to $80. Well, with $75 to $80, you can fill up your tank of gas in a big truck. My grandfather could pull up to the same gas station with the same truck today as in 1950 and fill it up for the same amount of money. The difference is the purchasing power of that silver hasn't changed one bit. It's the purchasing power of the fiat currency in your pocket that has.
Okay, so if I had taken those 2 1-ounce silver dollars and put them in my pocket, and 30 years later gone and redeemed those, I could have bought a full tank of gas. However, what you're saying is that if I had taken those 2 paper dollars and stuck them in my pocket for 30 years, obviously I would not be able to take those $2 and go buy a tank of gas.
Basically, except for the 2 silver dollar notes that would have been in my grandfather's pocket, were still backed by 2 1 ounces of silver.
Okay.
That changed in 1964. They cut the tie between what was called the gold standard and our fiat currency. So our money in our pocket is no longer backed by silver or gold any longer.
Okay.
And that's where it all changed.
All right.
To make that point a little more clear, I like to show this chart a little bit. It's basically showing on this side the price of 100 barrels of oil in terms of dollars. And down here you see the year span that it covers. So it starts in 1950 and it goes all the way to 2010. The green line in the middle is the one that's important to us because that's the American dollar. And you can see that it fluctuates wildly starting right about here. And again, this is as compared to 100 barrels of oil, not really the dollar. We're not looking at dollars. We're not looking at oil in the price of dollar. We're looking at the dollar in terms of oil.
Okay.
So when you compare that to the price of, to the value of gold, and ounces of gold, the purchasing power of those ounces of gold, represented by this red line on the bottom, has remained almost exactly the same. You could buy 100 barrels of oil in 1950 for almost exactly the same amount of gold as you can buy in 2010.
Okay, and what you were saying before about them doing this untying of the currency to the standard, you can see, at least I can see, that about that time is where you start to see these fluctuations occur.
Exactly.
Okay. I also did some research, and to put it in a little bit more familiar terms, I tried to find something that we could all relate to, and one of the best things I could come up with was food, and obviously
We all need it.
the only thing that I could think of would be a loaf of bread. That's something that seems to have been around long enough that they could maybe track.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, sure enough, I was able to find some statistics on the price of a loaf of bread in 1930. And also we have the records of a price of gold in 1930. And what I found was that in 1930, you could buy approximately, the purchasing power of gold in 1930 would yield you approximately 300 loaves of bread.
Gotcha.
Okay? Then I was able to do the same thing. The data that I was able to find went all the way up to 2008. And believe it or not, the same purchasing power in 2008, the price of an ounce of gold, would yield you approximately 300 loaves of bread over 50 years later.
Exactly. I find that very interesting. That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay, so after the chart and hearing some of those numbers, I guess the question of should I save in physical silver and gold, the answer is, well, we can't answer it personally for you. We don't know if saving your money in silver and gold is right for you. However, history clearly shows that silver and gold retain their stable purchasing power. The chart shows it, and we have data to back that up.
Now, by way of comparison, however, the exact opposite is true of currencies. They do not retain their purchasing power. So that kind of brings me back to my original question when asked that question, should I save in the form of silver and gold? Well, why would anybody in their right mind try to save in a devaluing paper currency?
Well, after seeing the evidence here, I know that I wouldn't. I would feel comfortable putting my money into something that's going to retain its purchasing power. But unfortunately, I'm not an investment advisor, and I know you feel the same way. So to you, our viewers, you've heard the difference between money and currency. You've seen a little bit about how gold and silver can retain the purchasing power. But it's up to you to make smart decisions with your own money.
Absolutely.
So
do your own research.
Do your own research, and if you'd like to get started, if you're considering about putting your money into gold and silver, retaining your purchasing power, then the World Coin series from the World Coin Network is a great way to get started. You can visit us, if you're already watching this video from our website, you can click on the link at the top that says the World Coin series. If you're seeing this video on YouTube or one of our other affiliates, you can visit us at our website, That's www.worldcoinnetwork.com. And again, the link on the top is called the WorldCoin Series. Very easy, very affordable way for you to start putting your fiat currency into a purchasing power such as gold, retaining power such as gold and silver. Anything to add to that?
Nope. I appreciate the opportunity to explain the difference between money and currency, and I am going to give you a quick endorsement on the WorldCoin Series. I think it's just a really cool product. It's both a collection and a storage vehicle for your wealth in the world, so I endorse it highly.
Well, I thank you for your time, and I look forward to having you back.